Do you remember the television program You Are There? The show with Walter Cronkite that took you back in time to important historical events? Well, you're about to hear a You Are There conversation. The only difference is that it's not about history, and it's not between individuals who were. It's history in the making. A conversation between two men who have made history in their own time and are still making it. You're about to hear a conversation between two giants in their respective fields, talking about something that is destined to be another giant, the George Hurst Performance Team. Drag racing's king of the hill, Don Garlits, and George Hurst, the man whose name means shifter to a drag racer or performance car enthusiast, together in one conversation, talking, planning, rapping about something that every high-performance car enthusiast has been waiting for. Something they can be a part of and play a meaningful role in. But let's go back in time for a brief trip through the careers of two of the most influential men in drag racing to see if we can what has led them to the conversation we'll hear in a minute. Colorful is hardly the word for the career of either man. They both have a collection of firsts that runs as long as your arm. Garlits was the first racer to crack the magic 200-mile-an-hour mark. Hurst was the first manufacturer to have his name shared with the products of General Motors. It was Garlits' Swamp Rat and the Hurst Olds. The name Hurst has become a generic term for shifter. You don't put a shifter in your car, you put a Hurst in it. And the name Big Daddy has become equally generic with trend-setting in design and innovation in drag racing equipment. If it makes Big Daddy run, I want it. The new switch to the rear-engine AA fuel dragster design is a direct result of Garlits' success with such a machine. Dwelling on past history any further won't establish these two men as the leaders and trendsetters they are and will continue to be. Just listening to their conversation that follows is tale well enough told. You're about to become a part of the future that years from now will be called history, as George Hurst and Don Garlits discuss the George Hurst Performance Team.
Well, George, you know, we've been friends for a long time. You know, we've been around since it all started. And, you know, you've given me a lot of help. I can think back to the days, you know, in Glenside, when you used to come down there with the Swamp Rat and use your stalls in your garage to fix it. I hear you're planning a performance team. Is it just for the racers, or can anybody join that's interested?
Don, I really look forward to putting this thing together so that just anybody, no matter how old he is or how young or what his station in life is, whoever is interested in the automobile and performance, thinks of a car as just a little bit more than a way to get back and forth to work. We are going to do everything we possibly can to make this fellow a happier person, happier about having a car, happier about being a part of our performance world. I feel that the performance business has gotten just a little too impersonal. All of the manufacturers, and myself included, just seem to have gotten too far from the actual people that made all this really happen. I'd like to get close to all these good people again. I want to talk to them personally. I'd like to find their needs and desires and try to see what I could do to help them. I'd like to bring all of us together again. The performance enthusiast, the car owner, regardless of his age, the racer, the hot car buyer, the manufacturers, the racing associations, and even the municipal, state, and federal governments, and maybe even some insurance companies. I would like to sort of form what I would like to call our Central Intelligence Agency for the performance people.
Well, you know, it sounds like a great dream, George, but how do you expect to pull that off?
Well, Don, I guess I've been pretty lucky with my dreams so far, and I've just formed a nationwide organization, which we are calling the George Hurst Performance Team.
Well, there's been nationwide organizations before. Lots of letters have been written. I know I get a lot of them myself. But nothing ever seems to happen. How are you going to make this one unique?
We're setting up a nationwide network of toll-free telephone numbers. You've seen all these 800 numbers. Well, I think we're going to introduce that 800 number plan into the performance industry. Each team member will be issued an embossed ID card. which will include his code number and my personal toll-free phone number, which he can use anytime, whenever he so desires. This way he can tell me just personally, man to man, or like Don to George, just exactly what he wants or what he'd like to see happen.
Well, what about some of the benefits that you get when you join, George? What can a guy expect besides the obvious benefits?
At the very outset, he'll receive his ID card, a decal or a dash plaque for his car with his membership number, a sew-on patch for his jacket, and our monthly performance equipment digest, which will include test and evaluation results. Not just the 8x10 glossy that's submitted by a manufacturer, but we're going to look at these products. We're going to look at them. If they require testing, we're either going to test them ourselves and ask for their test results, and we're going to witness them. We want to be sure that the products that we show our members and we recommend are what we say they are. That's the whole idea here, because we are trying to bring the best products at the best prices and the best service to our people. And of course, most of all, what he's going to get is our direct hotline. Beyond this, it'll be up to the team members to tell me just exactly what he wants and what should take first priority. Our pleasant finds include a myriad of things. We're looking at a performance evaluation team for the purpose of field testing products by our active members. We're looking at the research and financing and the manufacture of new products submitted by and for our team members. We feel we can do a great job with talent enlistment. There are many good guys out there who would like to become a bigger part of our wonderful business. We could bring them to the surface and enjoy their hidden talents. We actually could help people find each other. We'd like to set up regional garages where our members could host touring drivers. I know that our members would be happy to provide facilities and services for these touring racers. This would also help the racers get closer to their friends and supporters. We'd like to provide special group rates on promotional and technical items, like catalogs, jackets, decals. We're looking at the possibility of a mail order service to members, of products that are hard to find or do not fit normal distribution channels. I think this could be a tremendous service and a big saving to our team members. I'd like to see group rates come into effect on charter transportation to major events. Our team members could sort of travel together. I'm sure that many people would extend a lot of discounts and courtesies to our people. I even think that we should be, we'd sure find our way into group seating, prime seating at major events where our fellows again could be together. And I would imagine that the track owners and so forth would extend special courtesies and hopefully a team discount or maybe season passes to our people. I look forward to sponsorship of lower class race cars and drivers. A lot of these fellows just can't make it, and I think our team members will have a favorite, maybe a favorite in their hometown or a national favorite or something that needs a hand. I think our team members would be darn glad to give somebody that needs a chance a break. I look at a monthly directory of recommended speed shops, which have given special consideration and discounts to team members. Fleet and special discounts have already been promised by some new car dealers for team members. And I think we could even provide a buying service to be sure that fellows order the proper equipment, what they really want, not what somebody wants to sell them, or not what's in stock, but what would really suit their specific purposes.
You mean there's a real possibility that a guy who drives a high-performance street machine can get things like better and cheaper insurance and parts discounts from speed shops?
A number of the insurance companies have talked to us, and they would be glad to deal with us if we get the proper numbers. And when I say numbers, that means the proper amount of people involved. I'm sure that many speed shops that I've talked to already would be doggone glad to extend a discount to our people, because we're going to be sending them additional customers, and we're also going to provide a monitoring service. These speed shops will know how our customers feel about their service, and naturally we're going to extend every courtesy to the speed shops we can and make their job. Let them know what the young people want. They'll know what to have in stock. They'll know what the trends are. And I think we'll get plenty of cooperation from local speed shop who are sincerely interested in this all-out team effort.
Do you think that the team will ever have a powerful enough collective voice to influence the manufacturers and the honchos in Washington?
Don, I certainly think that this performance team will have a voice, both in the manufacture of performance products, and we have tremendous friends in Detroit and very good friends in Washington. And if we have a reasonable number, I can assure everyone that the people in Washington are on the side of the performance people.
Do you think we'll ever be able to exert any influence on the associations where it will make racing at some of these big national events more pleasurable instead of such an ordeal to go through, things like waiting in line for an hour to start your engine in the morning and stuff like that?
Well, Don, I certainly feel so. I feel this way. I have to say this. I've dealt with all the organizations for a long time, and I feel if we collectively put our thoughts together and we go to the organization not upset and full of temper and at the height of all the things that are going wrong, we generally do, we can take our observations and plug them into the organization and their problems. And I'm sure that if we represent big numbers, the organizations will listen. And I really feel the organizations do want to make it more pleasurable and make it more fun, but they run into things that they don't understand at the outset and may go through 3 or 4 or 10 events and never know really from the racer side what the big problem is. That's what I feel about this whole team idea. It's a central intelligence agency to get the message from A to B or from B back to A, whichever way it should be done.
In other words, it might be an advantage for the associations to even be a member of.
Don, I have never, ever in my life heard where communications between people was not an advantage. And I feel that we will pass the same advantage here. But we're going to be just as much of a service to the manufacturers and the association and the government as we are to the racer and to the performance product buyer. That's the whole idea, Don.
I have to concur with that, George. That sounds good to me. I see one big club headache here looming in front of us. That's club communication. Isn't that going to be a tremendous problem with the members all over the country, you know, in 50 states and possibly even out of the country with our Canadian friends drag racing so much? Who's going to handle all the mail? It's got to come in by the ton.
Don, let me assure you, if tons of mail come in and there's that kind of enthusiasm out there, and we've got that many people that want help and want a voice, and they want their opinion shared, and they want companionship and togetherness, we're going to find a way to do it. We've been very fortunate so far. We've always found a way to do the things that we saw were a necessity and were for the good of everyone. And believe you me, Don, if this team really gets moving, I am sure we are going to find just a tremendous amount of people that want to be part of it. It is so refreshing to the people I've talked to already in the industry, great people in this industry like Carl Schieffer, who's done a phenomenal job with the Schieffer clutches, and he's just a real great guy. And when I told him about this, he volunteered every one of his free hours to it. And everyone I've talked to, like yourself, Don, people are just as enthusiastic as I've ever seen, and they all want to help make this one big performance team from every side. And of course, as I stated before, we've got the Watts telephone service, and I think that the telephone is about the most immediate communication system that we could ever dream of. And I certainly feel that people that take the effort to go pick up a phone and call us, no matter what the telephone needs are, I'm sure we'll find a way to handle them.
Well, where are the headquarters activities for the team going to be located?
Well, right now, Don, I'm very happy to say this. You know, we've had great cooperation from everybody we've talked to about this, and the people, the management, and the ownership of Orange County International Raceway have offered us their tower and their strip for both the headquarters and a facility for testing our products.
Well, how could a drag strip benefit from being a member of the team, George?
Well, Don, I think that it's pretty well known throughout the country that the price of operating a drag strip has gotten phenomenal, and the price of getting the message out to the public through the media has gotten pretty high, and it's getting expensive to attract people to drag strips. And I certainly hope that with our group activity here, we'll be able to stimulate a lot of interest in drag racing. And I'm really looking forward to something here, too, that I think you'd be interested in, Don. Looking at a team promotion and support of a new type of drag racing. I don't mean a completely new type, but something that we would add to the present type, which could make lower class stock drag racing more competitive and exciting. We like to call this new form of racing trap racing, which simply means total response and performance. I sincerely feel that this new idea could make those lower stock cars a lot more interesting. I think with the proper cooperation from drag strips, we could get these fellows that belong to the team in early during a race day and run their cars as often as they want. And if we could get this, if this new type of racing does prove feasible, we could just make it very interesting for everybody. I'd like to see everything that we can possibly do to find out what these young fellows want and just what the drag strips will do to help them get all the runs in they want. I think that was the original purpose of drag racing. I think we've lost some of that, Don, and I sure think that maybe we'll do everything we can to try to bring some of that back. The original concept of drag racing's got pretty far away from us, too.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Drag racing started with the lower class cars, and I think we can't lose sight of that fact.
If we could find a way to make this new form of trap racing feasible, I think we draw a tremendous amount of people into the drag strip that maybe weren't just interested in seeing a car just leave the line and see how fast a fellow could get going in the quarter and how fast he could get there. And we all know that the more people we can draw, the lower the prices have to be per person. And I feel that our membership will spread the word among themselves about the forthcoming events. And if they do that, that would certainly attract a lot more participants and spectators. Maybe the racetracks wouldn't have to go to the tremendous expense of all the radio and newspaper advertising they're going through right now. I would hope that we could help them.
I have to agree with that, and I know that that philosophy is correct because in my travels around the country, I have come across drag strips that are following that program. They've reduced the spectator gate fee and also the fee to race your car, and they have doubled and tripled attendance figures because these people come with their families. You know, drag racing started as a family affair. If you charge that kind of money, it drives the family man away with his wife and children and even the young fellow with a job and his girlfriend. And if you can get that communication to the drag strips, I know you'll be able to help them.
Well, Don, we're going to do everything we can to just keep this sport in the perspective of which it started. We're going to do everything we can to get back to the basics.
I think that's a good idea. I've always said that we needed a champion. And George, I think you're the one. Count me in.
Well, Don, you've always been #1 in our book, and you've done it again.
Now that you've heard it, how does it feel to be a part of history in the making? Gotta make you feel just a little bit of pride to be an insider? To have a little advance insight into what's going on? You bet it does. And when you join the George Hurst Performance Team, that pride you feel will multiply itself every time your buddies see the decal on your car, or every time you flash your membership card to get those special privileges and discounts that are available only to you and your fellow team members. Just think of what your buddies will say when you tell them you had a rap session on the phone with George, or his buddies like Don Garlits, Ronnie Sox, Gene Snow, Grumpy Jenkins, or any of the pros. As a team member, you'll have an opportunity to call them toll-free and rap with them personally. By joining the George Hurst Performance Team now, you can get in on the ground floor of the great benefits and changes the team as a whole, with George as its leader, will be able to bring about. To get your identification card, membership decal for your car, jacket patch, member's certificate, plus the toll-free team phone number and all the privileges and pride that go with it, send $10, which covers your first year's team membership, to the George Hurst Performance Team headquarters, The Tower, Orange County International Raceway, East Irvine, California, 92650. This special membership offer is a limited one, And all of you who become founding members will get a gold membership card with a special number series, indicating that you were one of the select first few to become a part of the George Hurst Performance Team. And once Founders membership closes, no more special numbers in this series will be issued. So don't miss out on your personal chance to become a true insider, a founding member of the George Hurst Performance Team. And it'll be George's personal pleasure to welcome you aboard as a team member. It's the Cromwell X3 Sound of Speed, the thrills and excitement of the motorsports world. I'm Al Pierce, and this edition of the Sound of Speed is brought to you by Cromwell Oil Company.
Joining us in the pits at Orange County International Raceway is a guy I'm proud to call a friend for a long time. More years than he probably cares to admit. The man whose name means shifter, Mr. George Hurst Jr. George, welcome to the Sound of Speed.
Nice to be here, Al.
It's nice to have you. Some information crossed my ever-open ears in the sport of drag racing recently. Information that you have decided to open your heart wider than you ever have, and that's pretty tough to do because this man is given more to the sport of drag racing and more to the high-performance field than any one individual that I can think of. George, you're going to put into operation the George Hurst Performance Team. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about what your plans are or what made you want to do what you're doing?
Well, Al, after saying all those nice things, you're kind of leaving me speechless. But you're right. I've decided that the performance business of drag racing, these great young people and everything have just been real great to me all during my business life. And now I'd just like to devote the rest of my active days to see what I can do to give back some of the success that I've had to the performance business. What I'm trying to do is start a togetherness program where everybody that's interested in racing, whether it be the performance equipment buyer or the drag racer, the speed shop, the drag strip, the manufacturer of automotive parts, the insurance companies, the government agencies. I want to try to get all these people together for one common cause. I think that there's nothing more powerful or better, and that's what our country has been founded on, is togetherness. The whole idea being to keep the fun in owning an automobile and keep America in America.
George, how do you plan to bring these people together? How do you plan to cause the communication that obviously is so necessary to make a thing like the George Hurst Performance Team work?
We plan on starting a team almost immediately, and the very first plan of action is going to be to set up a national network of Watts line toll-free telephones. And the moment a person becomes a member of our team, he will be issued my very own telephone number on which he can call me just any time during working hours and let me know what he wants. And we're going to play this thing by ear, Al, and the way I see it, people are going to tell me what they want. I'm not formulating any specific plans, but I am going to let the actual team members tell me what they prefer and what they want first.
George, you talked about a national network of Watts line telephones. Who's footing the bill?
Well, Al, the way it's going to work out is we're going to ask each member to contribute $10. And for this $10, I feel that we'll be able to run the telephone service for a year. And I certainly feel that all the things that the club is going to be involved in, all the great things that we're going to be able to do together, I am very confident the club will be able to be self-supporting.
George, I can see where the service would be a tremendous advantage to someone like Chrysler Corporation, where their market research people say, well, we've done whatever market research we've done, and we're going to build a 340 Duster. That's the car that's going to put us in the performance orientation that is going to make money for us. Where if you had the opportunity to talk to X thousand members of the team and come up with something that says, no, you shouldn't have a 340 Duster. You should have a 426 Hemi Duster because that's what the kids want, or that's what the team members feel they want. And that's just a very perfunctory example, but what I'm saying is the information could be drawn from the members. Have you considered approaching the manufacturers and saying we have this kind of information potential available to us and letting them help support the club?
I feel that the club will perform a tremendous service to people who either manufacture automobiles or performance equipment. And I feel that the kind of people that will join a team like we're proposing will be very important to the manufacturers, and their knowledge will be valuable.
Well, that's obvious. The value would be incalculable. You couldn't begin to place a value on it. What kind of benefits can the team member who joins the George Hurst Performance Team expect besides the opportunity to talk to you on the telephone? I can see somebody like Ronnie Sox and Buddy Martin rolling into town and stopping at team headquarters and talking to the kids for a couple of hours. I can see Linda Vaughn talking to kids, so I can see where the interest factor there is, but what other kind of benefits are they going to get besides your phone number?
Plans call for, of course, the national network of incoming watch lines. We also intend to put outgoing watch lines to all the manufacturers of high-performance equipment. In this case, as you say, it'll be impossible to answer every question and every fellow that calls. However, we're going to try to get to know them initially. Then, when we get incoming calls, if a fellow wants some information on a camshaft, well, we will just cross-connect him with who we know at a particular camshaft manufacturer is qualified to give one of our members a straightforward answer.
Let's take Joe Average Racer or Joe Average high-performance oriented thinker, the kind of a guy who sits and listens to the sound of speed. He's heard that you've got a private line telephone system. He's heard that if he's got problems locating a part, you can find it for him. But it goes much further beyond that. Why should he join? Why should he take $10 out of his pocket and send it to you? What's he going to get for it besides the opportunity to chase a part or to have conversation with you about a problem that he's having?
One of the things that I think all the club members will appreciate and really enjoy participating in is the testing of performance products. We expect to have the club do a large test program for anybody that's involved in the manufacture of performance products and also in the manufacture of automobiles.
You mean the members themselves are actually going to participate in testing a part or testing a car or testing a product and evaluating it themselves?
Oh yes, I think that's one of the first functions we want to get involved in. My purpose in this whole thing is to see better products reach to fellows at better prices and through better service. And our part in this thing is going to be to help the manufacturer decide what the best products are and how they best fit the needs of the team members. And this way we will work jointly with the manufacturers to bring these better products at better prices and give our fellows better service.
How about the guy out there who is just a straight performance buff? He's not a racer. He doesn't own a race car, but likes to go to the drag strips and watch racing. There's got to be a group of benefits to him. Are things like this in your plans?
Oh, absolutely, Al. Just from our primary investigation, talking to many drag strip operators, they're just as anxious to get people in there as we are to get there. They'd like to see the actual performance buffs, as you call them, and I like to call them myself, come in groups. They have offered group seating, reasonable discounts, season passes. They're going to do anything in the world that they can to make our performance team members comfortable, and they're going to extend just as much hospitality as they possibly can because we're going to be doing something for them also.
George, you mentioned something called trap racing, and you said total response and performance, TRAP for trap. Okay, I understand that, but let's go beyond it. Let's talk about what trap racing is and how the George Hurst Performance Team and George Hurst himself plan on putting trap racing into effect at a drag strip.
We have a new idea with, as you say, we call it total response and performance. We think we're going to ask these fellows not only to see how quickly they can get to the end of the drag strip, but we're also going to see how good they are at bringing their car to a complete halt and restaging it. And I think we're going to keep a tremendous amount of interest in the race until the very moment the fellow actually wins. It should keep everybody interested, because I think it's going to take a lot of skill to stop the car, keep it going straight, and then under all the tension of maybe getting there first, but having the other fellow right up alongside of you in that race to restage. I think the restage race is going to be as much fun as the actual acceleration race itself.
You're going to have a series of starts, stops, and restarts with a series of Christmas trees and staging lights that perhaps will run the full quarter mile. I could see this happening 2 or 3 or even 4 times in a given quarter mile. Is that your thought?
We're going to try it first with our team members. We're going to start it with the present facilities with some extra lights, some extra staging lights and so forth. Then we're going to just see how much fun this is. I personally feel it's going to open up a new field in drag racing, and now we're going to get a tremendous amount of interest from people who are interested in tires and in brakes, and that could sure open a door to a lot more sponsorship and a lot of interest from the civic people and the safety people and so forth. I think it's going to just be a lot of fun, and I think we'll get a lot of husband and wife drag racing, a lot of father and son racing. From what I gather from everybody, we're sure going to give this one college try.
Well, it's, as we said earlier, like getting back in the old days, and that's certainly back in the old days, because drag racing was started with the low stock racers, and the as we used to call them, shade tree engineers, the guy who used to go out there with a chainful and hook it to the branch of the oak tree and haul the old engine out and drop a new one in, and for 15 bucks, if you blew the head on the top of your flathead, you went out to the wrecking yard and got you a new set of hardened heads for 30 bucks and went back racing. Where's it going to take place, George? Where are you planning to locate and carry on the team activities?
Well, Al, it only kind of makes sense to me. I intend to get totally involved in what I'm doing. It's going to be a full-time operation, 12 months out of the year. And it's just obvious that there's no better place to do this than in Southern California. So we're going to make our team headquarters right here at the Orange County International Raceway.
What a fantastic facility for working with the evaluation things that you talked about, where the team members will actually have their own track here in Southern California, and I'm sure if it works here, it can be set up regionally across the country. What do you plan to do for office and supporting team activity space? There certainly is not a wealth of space here, George, other than the tower. Do you plan on using the tower facility or something like that?
You hit it on the head, Al. We're going to start the thing right up there on the 3rd floor of the tower, where we will be completely aware of drag racing and the great people that are involved in it on a full-time basis.
And all we can do, George, really, at this point, is say to the guys and gals out there who listen to the Sound of Speed, that if you're interested in finding out more about the George Hurst Performance Team before you decide to become a member or not, is drop us a note, care of the radio station you're listening to. Just address it to the Sound of Speed, care of the radio station you're listening to. They'll forward the mail on to us back here in Southern California, and we'll see that someone at the George Hurst Performance Team gets an information sheet back to you pronto, and you can make your decision from there. George, all I can do is, from the bottom of this great big old heart of mine, I say great big only because there's 260 pounds of me around it, is to say good luck to you, and count on us to do everything we can to help make the George Hurst Performance Team the success we know and want it to be.
Well, Al, thanks an awful lot. And the one thing I can say is that anybody that's out there that's listening to Al is certainly one of our people. And I just love to have him become part of our team. Let's all get involved together.
Getting involved with the man sitting next to me, George Hurst, is something no one can go wrong in doing. George, again, our thanks for joining us here at the X3 Sound of Speed, and the name Hurst is magic. Let's wave the wand over the performance team.
For Cromwell Oil Company, I'm Al Pierce, and this has been the Cromwell X3 Sound of Speed.